God is everything. God is all in all. God is so divine, everlasting light, the sun that shines, the stars at night, and so much more, so much more, so much more. Every breath, every breath, every move, every move, every tree, every bird, every sound and every word, the moon in the sky and the mountains up high, and you and I, you and I, you and I. I give God thanks for all my days. I'm glad for this time. I give God praise. 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 Yeah, 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 yeah. I give God praise. 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 God is everything. God is all in all. God is so divine, yeah. Everlasting light, the sun that shines, the stars at night, and so much more, so much more, so much more. Hallelujah, a word of praise, a word of praise to my God. Hallelujah, a word of praise, a word of praise to my God. Hallelujah. Of praise, a word of praise. every song I sing be holy, and only bring me close to you. Hallelujah. A word of thanks, a word of thanks for my God. Hallelujah. A word of thanks, a word of thanks for my God. Let every breath I breathe be sacred. Let every word I speak be true. Let every song I sing be holy, and only bring me close to you. Let every breath I breathe be sacred. Let every word I speak be true. Let every song I sing be holy, and only bring me close to you. Hallelujah. A blessed day with my God. Hallelujah. A blessed day with my God.
I love with the heart of God within me. I sing with the voice of God within me. I rest in the peace of God within me. Everything praises God within me. I know with the might of God within me. I pray with the faith of God within me. I trust in the power of God within me. Everything praises God within me. I am a safe and loving place, born of beauty and amazing grace. I laugh with the joy of God within me. I shine with the light of God within me. I am who I am 'cause of God within me. Everything praises God. Everything praises God. Everything praises God within
God is everything.
Come on in. Hello and good morning. Bonjour. Magandang umaga. Hivay ho omenta. Ganaiden. Welcome to Unity of Bellevue. My name is Arlene Joy Christensen. This is our first Sunday service for the month of June. The name of June is in honor of the Roman goddess Juno. The spiritual meaning of June is closely related to sunlight. Well, Goddess Juno is so happy, those are her tears of joy. So let's hope she wipes those tears dry to bring in the sunny rays, right? By the way, our men's group has their retreat this weekend in a lodge on Dirty Face Road in Leavenworth. And I'm just saying hello in case they tune in. And if the downpour keeps on going, it's going to be called the Clean Face Road. We are grateful to all of you who are joining us in person and virtually. Our theme for the month of June is integrity. Integrity is a determination of the heart. The unwavering determination in the heart to do right no matter what. June is the 6th month of the year. Number 6 energy vibrates spiritually, fighting for the principles of human beings who show concern for the well-being of everyone. Integrity in June. This aligns with Unity of Bellevue in welcoming everyone, regardless of ethnicity, gender, age, religion, national origin, physical disability, or sexual orientation. Integral to bringing our Sunday service beaming along are our tech team, Wondervar, with Daniel McFadden, Howard Lamb, and Jim Schwarting. All the flower arrangements for this month by Linda Hillesheim. Cindy Brightbill was our meditation facilitator earlier. There is no prayer chaplain after the service since we will have our monthly questions and answers. The invocation today will be done by Dixie Brightbill. Reverend Monica McDowell, yay, is our speaker with her message of not hemming God in. Shelley Lish is the offering steward, and Jean Palmatier is the board host. Becca Palm is our guest artist, with song leader Jamie Sassy. So let's welcome June with God is My Source.
Good morning, everybody. Please stand if you're able and join me. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. How about some love? God is my source. Love is my power. Love gives me everything I need.
Love gives me everything.
So I give thanks for all my blessings. Love gives me everything I need. Joy. Joy is my source.
Joy is my source.
Joy is my power.
Joy is my power.
Joy gives me everything I need.
Joy gives me everything.
So I give thanks for all my blessings. Joy gives me everything I need. Peace. Peace is my source. Peace is my power. Peace gives me everything I need.
Peace gives me everything
So I give
I
thanks
need.
for all my blessings. Peace gives me everything I need. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need.
God gives me everything.
So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need.
Everything.
God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need.
God gives me everything.
So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need.
We know that God is all there is. And so we invoke the divine full of goodness, full of light and life and love. We invoke a greater expression of consciousness that dwells within and all around us. We align ourselves again with the divine intention for the highest and the best good for us all. We know and we can trust in the unfolding of divine order. We breathe deep into our sacred core. We breathe in again. We call forth from the divine wholeness, divine integrity, inviting grace and gratitude to lead us forward. We are so grateful.
God is all there is, and I am one with God. God is all there is, I am one with God. My heart is open to the full expression of that life living me. God is all there is, and I am one with God. God is all there is, I am one with God. God is all there is, I am one with God. My heart is open to the full expression of that life living me. God is all there is, and I am one with God is. I am, and so it is.
Our affirmation for the month of June, first I'll recite it, and then we'll all join together. I affirm wholeness and integrity. I love and accept all parts of myself no matter what. I own the places where my unconsciousness is still evolving into full divine consciousness. I allow myself the grace to grow and learn as I integrate at greater depths of my being. I grant this same grace to others. I align with the divine, and this is mine. I am so grateful, and so it is. Please, all together, I affirm wholeness and integrity. I love and accept all of the parts of myself, no matter what. I own the places where my unconsciousness is still evolving into full divine consciousness. I allow myself the grace to grow and learn as I integrate at greater depths of my being. I grant the same grace to others. I align with the divine, and this is mine. I am so grateful, and so it is.
Good morning. My name is Monica McDowell Elvig. I'm your center administrator, and I am your temporary operations manager while we wait for our transitional consultant to start in just a couple of Sundays. So that's very exciting. This morning I have a couple of readings for you, but first, June is summer, like, as Joy said, we hope. It's also Pride Month. Summer, we have the Summer Olympics this summer. We have our new transitional consultant, as I said. Our book of the month is The Way of Integrity by Martha Beck. It's available in our bookstore if you'd like to order it or buy it in person. It's also Pentecost Sunday, so happy Pentecost. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. The first passage that we have for this morning comes from the book of the prophet Isaiah, chapter 6. Listen for what the Spirit will say to you through these words. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw God sitting on a throne, high and lifted up, and the hem of God's robe filled the temple. Seraphs hovered above God. Each had 6 wings. With 2 they covered their faces, and with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they flew. And one called to the other, saying, Holy, holy, holy is God of the angels. The whole earth is full of God's glory. The foundations of the threshold shook at the voices of those who called, and the house filled with smoke. And I said, Woe is me, I am doomed. For I am a man of unclean lips, and I live among a people of unclean lips. Yet my eyes have seen the God of angel hosts. Then one of the seraphs flew to me, holding a live coal that had been taken from the altar with a pair of tongs. The seraph touched my mouth with it and said, Now that this has touched your lips, your guilt is departed, your sin is blotted out. Then I heard the voice of God saying, Whom shall I send? Who will go for us? And I said, Here am I, send me. And our second passage comes from the Good News according to Luke, chapter 8, beginning with verse 43. Now there was a woman who had been suffering from hemorrhages for 12 years. And though she had spent all she had on physicians, no one could cure her. She came up behind Jesus and touched the hem of his robe, and immediately her hemorrhage stopped. Then Jesus asked, Who touched me? When they all denied it, Peter said, Master, the crowds are hemming you in, and dozens are pressing against you. But Jesus said, Someone touched me, for I felt the power go out from me. When the woman realized she could not remain hidden, she came trembling and knelt before him, and she declared in the presence of all the people why she had touched him and how she had been immediately healed. Jesus said to her, Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace. Thanks for these words.
Here I am. Use me. Use me, oh God, I stand for you. Here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. I used to think that God was the sun, God is the sun, but God's so much more than the earth or the stars or all of creation. God is creator, all in all, needing us to shine its light as me, as you. Use me, you can sing if you know it. Oh God, I stand for you, and if you want to, here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. Command these hands, what must they do? Command my life, it's here for you. God is the love that heals all creation. God is creator, makes all things new. And God needs us to shine its light as me, as you. Use me, oh God. Oh God, I stand for you. Here I'll abide, as you show me all that I must do, all that I must do. Show me all that I must do. Show me all that I must do.
Thank you, Becca. Anyone who has ever lived in the same household as my husband, Tony, knows that he is a big Clint Eastwood fan. And the reason this is obvious is because he goes around impersonating or trying to impersonate Clint Eastwood, especially the old Dirty Harry movies, one-liners from those movies. And I got permission from Tony to say all this, so I'm good. Like, go ahead, make my day, right? And I don't try to imitate my husband trying to impersonate Dirty Harry, but one of his one-liners got my attention, and it was, "A man's got to know his limitations." I would even go so far as to say a woman's got to know her limitations. And so today I'm going to tell you one of my limitations. I cannot sew. I know it's a great tragedy. Not that my mother didn't try desperately to teach me. I just could never get the knack of where to thread the thread and the bobbin. I had no patience for it. I was doomed from the start. So I am always in awe of people who can make banners and quilts and art from a sewing machine. I'm especially in awe of anyone who can hem their pants. I can't sew. I really can't hem my pants. And nowadays it's not such a big deal because pant lengths come in all sorts of sizes, and I've adopted the principle that if it needs hemming, I don't buy it. But when I was in college, pant length seemed to come in only one length, and that was extra long. This was the 80s. And without my mom to hem them for me, I had to wrestle with the question, to hem or not to hem, and I always chose not to hem with a needle and thread, but that required some improvising. Fortunately, I found a kindred spirit in my friend Amy. She couldn't sew or hem either. Now, an important thing to know about Amy is she grew up in Talkeetna, Alaska. Talkeetna sits at the base of Mount McKinley, now called Mount Denali, and during the summer climbing season, it functions as base camp for the climbers who want to scale that giant mountain. This is where she grew up. She was fearless. She would try anything. She would do really good on one of those Survivor TV reality shows. So anyway, Amy and I would put our heads together when we had to hem some pants to try to figure out what would work. We discovered many things could work. Tape, any kind really. Scotch tape, masking tape, duct tape. My dad made me take duct tape to college with me. He's one of those duct tape can fix anything kind of men. It even works on hems. We also tried glue. Elmer's glue did not work. Fabric glue, if we planned ahead and glued the night before, it could work. Paper clips, meh. Staple, well, a staple or two could suffice if we couldn't find any tape or glue. Now, if you think that surely by now, decades later, Monica would have matured out of this immature workaround, I encourage you to keep that high thought of me. And I also encourage you not to go look at the hems on the closet curtains in the bookstore. Just don't go look there. You'll be disillusioned. So why all this attention on hems and human limitations? They are the keys, the two keys to understanding our two passages this morning. Perhaps you notice that hems were mentioned in both of them. It's a curious detail. But there it is. The woman in Luke comes up behind Jesus and touches the hem of his robe, and she is healed. And Isaiah receives this vision of the transcendent God, and in this vision, he mentions that the hem of God's robe filled the temple. The traditional translation is the train. The better translation is the hem. The hem of God's robe fills the temple. Since when did hems become spiritually important? With our clothes in general, the best hems are hidden. We try to hide them. Even when Amy and I would put staples in them, we tried to, not let them be seen. But what I discovered was that in the Hebrew Bible, with high priestly robes, they were mandated to have pomegranates and golden bells all along the hems of their robes. And with Pharisaical robes too, they would have blue cord fringes and tassels attached to the bottom of the hems. And that symbolized the 10 Commandments. In other words, you were supposed to see them and hear them, and you were supposed to be reminded of their collective agreements. The hems were a call to integrity with each other. Hems are noticeable and symbolic in our two passages this morning as well. When the hemorrhaging woman reaches out and touches the hem of Jesus' robe, we are reminded of human limitations. 12 years of doctors, 12 years of all her money sunk into treatments, and still she's no better. We notice desperation. What else is she to do? But we also notice something else. You can hear her think. Listen to her think to herself with this new thought. Maybe, just a touch of his hem can make a difference. And with Isaiah, just a hem of God's robe filled the temple. If in your mind's eye you could imagine this vision here, that the hem of the robe of this vision fills this sanctuary, and the temple was much bigger than this sanctuary. Just fill out then how large this being would have to be proportionately. And no wonder Isaiah says he was huge and lifted up, a giant of a God. The hem could not be noticed, and neither could the being's size. Of course, it's all a metaphor for infinite divine consciousness. And then to this vision add seraphim, which are described in the Bible as having 6 wings, and it's a being full of eyes in other places in the Bible. So 6 wings and covered in eyeballs. And then a bunch of smoke fills the place, and then there's a localized earthquake. And no wonder the first words out of Isaiah's mouth are, "Woe is me, I am doomed." It sounds a bit like a scene from a horror movie. In all of the call passages in the Bible, Moses' burning bush, Samuel and Jeremiah hear a voice, the Apostle Paul gets a blinding light that literally blinds him. Pentecost, on Pentecost Sunday, the collective call for the community to go forward, they have flaming tongues of fire descend upon them. There is a theophany, some kind of sign from God, a vision, a word. Isaiah's call to ministry begins with this fearsome vision. We never know how Spirit will call us into ministry in church, community, career, family. It's all sacred. And from that perspective, everything's ministry. We are often, though, called into new ways of ministry in our lives, or greater expressions of the ministries we already have, whatever they may be. We may not receive a theophany, a vision, or an earthquake, but the divine within or the divine outside of us will act in some way to get our attention. A minister friend of mine named Tim tells this story. He was a minister on staff of a very large local congregation, a lot of ministers on staff, and because of the large size of the community, bulletin space was very limited, and competition to put any announcements in there was fierce. Now, one of Tim's colleagues, another minister, put this bulletin announcement in one Sunday. It read, "Needed CPA. Must have extensive experience in nonprofit organizations. Must be able to commit 2 years to go to Mozambique. Must be able to leave within a month. Must be fluent in Portuguese." Now, the minister who put this in got a lot of flack from the rest of the ministerial staff, especially from my friend Tim, for wasting precious bulletin space with such a ludicrous announcement. But there was a woman sitting in church that morning, staring at that announcement. And she was saying to herself, "Well, no wonder I've been feeling this nudge to move to another country. And no wonder I just closed down my business. And no wonder I just leased out my house." She had no conscious idea why she had done any of those things. But she was a CPA, specializing in nonprofits. She was fluent in Portuguese, and within a month, she was in Mozambique. Her picture is framed and hanging on the wall of my friend Tim's office as a gift from the minister who put that announcement in, as a reminder that God's call can even come through a bulletin announcement. Yes, this is a plug, so always read your weekly e-newsletters. And all of you online, don't log off before the announcements. You never know. We also never know in what circumstances the divine call may come. The hemorrhaging woman was desperate and in her society considered unclean and therefore an outcast. When Jesus' power went out to her, healing her, empowering her to declare to everyone present what is possible in a seemingly impossible circumstance. There's a story about a woman, she's about 60 years old, suffering from depression, suicidal. The only relative near her that could help her at all was a nephew who was in graduate school. And this nephew was beside himself. Nothing worked to help his aunt. So he went to one of his wise and kindly professors and said, "Could you stop by her house and see if you can offer any suggestions or any help?" So the professor went to her house, and he noticed that everything was in disarray, except a bunch of African violets. They were thriving and well cared for. And he also noticed that other than being obviously down, the only thing she cared to talk about was her spiritual community or church. So knowing that she didn't lack for any money, he suggested to the woman that for every birth and for every death, for every wedding and for every anniversary, she'd take an African violet to that family in her church. That was the end of this professor's contact with that woman or her nephew. 20 years later, he notices an article in the newspaper. The heading reads, "African Violet Queen Dies. beloved in church and community. And the article went on to describe how loved and missed she was for all of the love and care she had given to so many over so many years. This professor's, this stranger's word of encouragement had functioned as a spiritual call in her life in a very desperate circumstance. Our spiritual call may come to us in any manner of circumstance, in any manner of communication, a new thought, a bulletin announcement, a suggestion from a stranger. The first element of a call passage in the Bible is Spirit getting our attention in some manner. The second element of a call passage is then to realize the limits of one's circumstances, one's human limitations. Our internal resistance to expansion rises up and speaks. Isaiah says, "Woe is me." Others in the Bible say, "Who am I? How can I? Who are you, God?" And look at Jonah. God calls him to Nineveh. He hops a ship as soon as he can and sails in the opposite direction from Nineveh. He runs away. That is resistance writ large. After the divine gets our attention, we often say, I can't do that. I'm not gifted enough. I'm too scared. I'm too rich. I'm too poor. I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm a kid. I'm retired. I'm settled. I have a disease. I will never be a great person. How can I? Who am I? I can't. Woe is me. Just the other day, I caught myself saying to the possibility of a call, I'm too introverted for that. We don't know what resistances and misperceptions about our abilities are hidden in our subconscious until the divine calls us into expansion. And then we become aware of all of these hidden limiting thoughts and beliefs and emotions. For Isaiah, he became aware of his human limitation in Jewish spirituality at the time. It was his impurity. He says, I'm a man of impure lips, and I live among a people of impure lips. In more modern language and in Jungian understanding, he saw a shadow side. In this expanded vision, he's daunted not just by the size of the vision, the size of the light, but by the size of the shadow. His circumstances look hopeless. He realizes he's not in integrity. He's out of alignment with the divine, not just a little, but a lot, and he's terrified. He's disillusioned. He sees the shadow in himself and everyone else. It's hopeless. It's a mission impossible. And coming to terms with shadow, doing shadow work is daunting. It's not for the faint of heart. It's spiritually courageous to look at one's shadow straight on, full on, and to name it, not as an affirmative prayer, but simply to speak the truth. Become aware that this piece does not remember who it is, and then to love it, to remember it, to reintegrate it into one's psyche, into one's conscious awareness. When we are able to see and own and love all of the parts of ourselves, the shadow turns to light. We become more of the wholeness we are at our core. We become integrated, we move into integrity, and this is a deep spiritual practice we are often called to. It is the third common element of a call passage that after realizing one's human limitations, after all of that resistance and shadow shows up, divine consciousness then provides exactly what is needed. Isaiah needed integration of his shadow. A seraph touches his lips and declares him whole. The shadow dissolves, burns away with just a touch of divine awareness. The first common element is a theophany. The second is our resistance. The third is divine provision. And the fourth and final common element of a call passage is the act of empowering through choice. The divine consciousness that got Isaiah's attention, that dissolved Isaiah's resistance and shadow, then empowers him. God says, whom shall I send? And who will go for us? There's a communal pronoun for God. Notice that. Who will go for us? I love the communal pronoun for God. And Isaiah claims the power. He takes the power and says, I will go. Send me. When we say yes, we come to know that we have everything we need and more to fulfill our spiritual call. So the question then is, do you know your call? your calls. Parker Palmer writes about some wisdom he once received. If you're not familiar with his writings, I encourage you to seek them out. They're full of wonderful wisdom and deep, thoughtful questions. At the time, he was working with the Quaker community. And after a few months of deepening frustration, he writes, I took my troubles to an older Quaker woman, well known for her thoughtfulness and candor. Ruth, I said, people keep telling me, way will open. That's how the Quakers say it, way will open. Well, I sit in the silence, I pray, I listen for my calling, but way is not opening. I've been trying to find my vocation for a long time, and I still don't have the foggiest idea what I'm meant to do. Way may open for other people, but it's not opening for me. And he continues, Ruth's reply was a model of Quaker plain speaking. She replied simply and somberly, in 60 plus years of living, way has never opened in front of me. She paused, and I started sinking into despair. Was this wise woman telling me the teaching of guidance was a hoax? And then she spoke again, this time with a grin. But a lot of doors have closed behind me, and it's had the same guiding effect. I've had a lot of different types of calls in my life, sometimes not realizing until after I was already in it that I was in a call, because a lot of doors had closed behind me, pushing me forward, and I ended up in a call, realizing it after the fact. I've had a very dramatic call, a true theophany, where the light shone into my bedroom and started talking to me and telling me, asking me to do something, and I argued with it, typical of the Bible. All my resistance came up, and it's a rather lengthy story, and it's in a couple of my books, and if any of you want to read it, I can also email you an excerpt of it, but it's a true biblical, all 4 steps of a call passage happened to me. But I've also just had a simple internal nudge that turned into a call. I once had a call just reading an academic textbook that completely changed the trajectory of my life. Our calls can come in any manner. So do you know your call? Spirit may already have gotten your attention. The vision for you may be clear, or it may not yet be clear. For you or for this community, we'll be entering into a discernment time as this community works with a transitional consultant to re-identify and to consider what our call as a community is. Or you may have gotten the call a long time ago and you're having trouble seeing how you're going to finish this call. Or maybe you realize your own shadow, or you're seeing the shadows of others. You feel doomed or delusioned, powerless or profane. Your resistance is loud and proud. It's a very good thing to know one's human limitations, to come to understand and look at resistance and shadow and learn its lessons. And when the unlimited divine calls us forward with a greater vision of who we can be and what we are called to do, it's biblically normal to feel very limited, to feel inadequate to the task. Yet Spirit does not call us to be spiritual Olympians, continually pushing beyond our limits and limitations. Neither are we called to be spiritual survivalists, trying to improvise workarounds around our limitations like Amy and I did. And we are not spiritual impersonators or actors imitating beyond who we are to what we are not. In fact, we learn from our passages that our individuated ego selves are not the main actors at all. The divine consciousness is the actor, awakening us from within to action, but it is Spirit who provides the call. It is Spirit who prepares us for that call. It is Spirit who empowers us to finish that call. So let us not rely on our ego strength to get beyond human limitations. Neither let us limit Spirit by our limitations. Let us not hem God in. God is not limited by human limitations, be it shadow or circumstance, powerlessness or misperception. God is a giant of a God, an infinite, divine consciousness, holy and healing, full of power and wholeness. Just a touch of a coal healed a doomed Isaiah, empowering him as a prophet of integrity to his community. Just a touch of a hem healed a desperate, hemorrhaging woman, empowering her as witness to the crowds of what is always possible. Just the hem of the divine's robe filled the temple. The angels cry out, "Holy, holy, holy is God Almighty. The whole earth is full of God's glory." So it is. Let's pray. We say with the angels, "Holy, holy, holy." We affirm that holiness inside, at the core of us. We affirm that wholeness that we are. We align body, emotions, mind, soul, and spirit with the highest and best for each and every one of us and all of us together. We know that anything is possible. We know that all is possible for those who believe. We breathe into this truth. We declare it is so, and so it is.
When I was a girl each week, on Sunday we would go to church. We'd pay attention to the priest. He would read the holy word, consecrate the holy bread. Everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. When I was in Sunday school, we would learn about the time Moses split the sea in two. Jesus made the water wine. I remember feeling sad that miracles don't happen still. But now I just can't keep track, 'cause everything's a miracle. Everything is holy now. Wine from water is not so small, but a better magic trick is anything is here at all. So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, but finding where there isn't one. When holy water was rare at best, it barely wet my fingertips. Now I have to hold my breath. I'm swimming in a sea of it. Used to be a world half here, heaven's heaven, hand-me-downs. Now I walk with a reverent air. Everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. Read a questioning child's face. Say it's not a testament. That'd be very hard to say. And see another new morning come, say it's not a sacrament. I tell you that it can't be done. This morning outside I stood, I saw a little red-winged bird shining like a burning bush, singing like a scripture verse. Made me wanna bow my head. I remember when church let out. Oh, how things have changed since then. Everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. Everything is holy now.
Hi, my name is Jean Palmatier. As soon as I can get my mask off without tangling it in my earring, I'll talk to you. Hang on just 1 second. Complications. So, everything is holy, everything is ministry. I have to share with you, I'm from Alaska. I know that town called Talkeetna. And I hemmed my pants with duct tape too. And if you use small pounds of duct tape and not all the way around the edge, then you don't have like bell bottoms, they're stiff. So I really enjoyed that. Thank you, Monica. I really appreciate that. As board host today, I'd like to just kind of say that, you know, the story about bell bottom, or the story about taping and hemming and glue and all the different kinds of ways you can do it, really brought to mind about creativity for me and how we are each creativity envisioned. And at Unity of Bellevue, that has a lot to do with how we can expand ourselves and how we can think in different terms and expand our way of thinking. For the board host time, we talked to you a little bit about how our beliefs with abundance are that we give, and as we give, we expand. As we expand, it comes back to us. And today, I'd like to invite those of you that come here and call this your spiritual home to please continue with your pledges. If you want to make a love offering, for those of you online, you can do it by clicking on Give. And for those of you here in the sanctuary, there's a basket at the end of the sanctuary. Please contribute as you feel comfortable. For those of you that are new, we don't ask that you do anything like that today. Just connect with us here in a few minutes. As Monica said earlier, we'll have announcements. Just check in with how you can connect with us and come back. And for those of you online, come to the sanctuary. It's kind of fun to be here in person again. I also wanted to take a couple of moments and recognize that today's speaker actually wasn't able to come. So Monica put all that together in a very short period of time. And Becca has also stepped in for us from time to time. And I'm not sure if today was an actual step-in or she was scheduled, but both of these two women have done a lot for the community in terms of stepping in when we haven't had others here. And it really keeps things going, and I just want to say thank you. And with that said, whatever you do to contribute, let's bless it. If you do a monthly pledge, please, as you do it, please bless it. Today, I'd like to take an opportunity and join with me in our offering affirmation. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Thank you. Grab my mask again.
Let's pray. We give thanks for these tithes and love offerings and the time and talents they represent. We are so grateful for life, for love, for creativity, for divine guidance that leads us onward and upward and forward. We dedicate these gifts to the highest and best use for Unity of Bellevue and for all of the communities and all of the individuals we touch and we connect with in our daily lives. We dedicate them to our mission to awaken people to the spiritual nature and to transform our world. We invoke the law of circulation, knowing that as we give, so we receive, and we are so grateful, and so it is. If you are visiting with us for the first time, we welcome you with open hearts. We have welcome packets for you sitting to the left side of the sanctuary doors that you are welcome to take with you. Inside is a coupon for 20% off anything of your choice in the bookstore. If you are online and you're joining us for the first time, you can go to our website, unityofbellevue.org, and go to the I'm New page, and you can select a welcome packet on that page. We'd love to hear from you, so please reach out and connect to us via email or phone. We also invite you to sign up for our weekly e-newsletter. That's the best way to stay in touch, and who knows, you might receive a divine call in one of those announcements, so you don't want to miss that. So at the bottom of every page on our website is a sign-up form for that weekly e-newsletter. Today is Q&A Sunday, so that is your opportunity to ask questions of our board. We'll take a break after service, and then our board members will be up here to answer any questions about our principles, practices, or policies. That will be live streamed, so just stay online if you are online. Prayer chaplains will be back next week for with a prayer circle following service, and in the meantime, they can pray with you throughout the week. There are prayer request cards in your seat back at the south entrance by the prayer box, and there's also one online on the prayer page. For sacred service, we are continuing our investigating and exploring the idea of a little food library and a little food pantry. We've got a site, we've got the dollars, we've got somebody who has volunteered to make it. So now we just need to select the design, and so that's the fun part. So we'll keep you posted on that. If you're interested in participating, let me know. Sisters in Spirit meets tomorrow night at 6:30 online. I'll be facilitating a discussion on self-compassion and self-care and integrity. The Zoom link is on our launch page. We're going to be using some exercises from our book of the month, so just take note of that. The men's group is going to meet on site this Saturday for the first time. They're going to be back in the building this Saturday, the 11th at 8:30. It may be hybrid as well, so if you are interested in finding that Zoom link, just connect with Vic or Jerry when they are back from their men's retreat. The new June and Father's Day online youth classroom is up on our website. You can find the link on our website or our newsletter. And I wanted to just take a moment. Reverend Denise has recorded a video for us, introducing her to us as our new transitional consultant. She begins on June 20th. She'll be here on June 26th to speak. And her video is on that page, our new page that we've put up for all of our transitional news. And that's unityofbellevue.org/transition. A big thank you to Becca for her awesome music. Love you, Becca. And to all of our volunteers who make every Sunday possible, we are so grateful for your dedication and your commitment, and to Sabrina, too, who organizes it all and gets it all working together. So thank you very much for all of that. Next week, we have Reverend Eric Odell in person and Cindy Akana as our guest artist. So look forward to that. And we're going to close us off with Peace Song with Jamie and Becca.
With God has
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Thanks, everyone. Have a blessed week. Love you.
Thank you so much. That was perfect. Perfect music.
Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let
Okay, welcome to Q&A Sunday, June the 5th. Had to look at my date here. My name is Jean Palmatier. I'm the board president. And Shelley?
And I'm Shelley Lish, Vice President of the board.
Good morning. I'm Arlene Joy Christensen. Welcome.
And Joy's member at large. So today we have a couple of missing board members, but notice the pink and purple flowers on each chair. They are with us in consciousness. Paul Roof is at the men's retreat today, and Dorothy was unable to make it. She is in town, but she was unable to make it. And Sharon is visiting family in Arizona. So we're a little bit short today, but that's okay. Life continues. Life continues. And the last chair I wanted to point out in the last Q&A session, this is new, but it's something we do in small groups, is we have an empty chair in this meeting to represent a couple of things. First of all, it represents the God consciousness that is with us at all times, no matter where we are, but it's a physical representation that our God consciousness is with us throughout this Q&A process. And also, it represents the empty chair for the next person that comes on the board, because I know there are those of you out there that will be on the board eventually. So today, we'll start out with what the board has done in the last 30 days. And for those of you online, this should be there should be a link in your chat that you can get to this. For those of you in the sanctuary, you have a hard copy version, and we have others in front if somebody didn't get them. For those of you in chat, when we do get to the Q&A portion, please put your questions into chat, and then Monica is going to be your interpreter. So anything you see in chat will come up to Monica, and Monica will present it to the board, and then we can answer you in that way. So welcome to those of you online, welcome to those of you in person, and here we go. So in the last 30 days, since our last Q&A, we have finished our reference checks for our transitional specialist. We signed a contract with Reverend Denise Schlick, and her first day is June the 20th. Her first Sunday will be June the 26th. We created a website for transition, as Monica said earlier in the service. If you want to get to that, go to the Unity of Bellevue website, click on About Us, and then click on Transition. Or you can do it, Monica, it's www.unityofbellevue.transition.
.org/transition.
.org/transition. We obtained a video introduction for the congregation that's posted on the new webpage. I want to give a shout out and a thank you. The last Q&A we had, I said that our transitional specialists may need some overnight accommodations periodically, and 3 of our congregational members stepped up and said, I'm willing. Yes, it's me. So Kathy Lane, thank you. Ken McClellan, thank you. And Rita Schwartig. Thank you, all of you, for potentially giving guest quarters to Reverend Denise. She won't be in town overnight very often, but it is nice to know that there is a place within the congregation that we surround her with love and she can stay. For services inclusion and exclusion, what part of our contract, I went ahead and put on the back side, or maybe on page 2 for those of you online, the inclusions and exclusions of her contract. I'm not going to go through those in detail because simply it would take too long. It's really provided as an FYI. If there's anything on there you have questions about, of course, we'll answer those. But it was really just to be transparent about what's in her services and what's not in her services, because a transitional consultant is different than a senior minister. So she will give a portion of the services that a senior minister would give, but she would also help us through identity work and as an organization, how to attract the best senior minister we can at the end of the transitional consultant's reign, if you will. The next thing we did in the last 30 days is we solved the AV issues we talked to you about last time. And when I say we, I really mean Howard Lamb. So Howard is one of our volunteers in our AV area, and he did some troubleshooting and found out that it was not the projector, it was a connection to the projector. And thank you to Daniel for loaning us his personal projector for a couple of Sundays to get us by. We probably need to have some conversation about buying a new projector. The one that we have is rather outdated, but it's still functional and working. So we move forward with that, and the board will be discussing AV upgrades as we move along. COVID policy, we've continued to talk about that. We did review one community letter that came in after the survey. Thank you to everybody that gave feedback. It was really helpful, much easier to make decisions with the community feedback. We have continued discussions around masking. Paul Roof and Jim Powers did some troubleshooting a couple of weeks ago and found out that we do have airflow in the sanctuary and in the friendship room that have not been turned on for a couple of years. And part of that was we had a prior minister that didn't like the noise. And we found that there is a high-low button on it where you can turn it down to the point where you almost can't hear it. So we're probably going to end up turning that back on to get a better airflow because one of the things about COVID is the better airflow you have, the more healthy it is. So that's something that's still in progress with Jim Powers and Paul Roof. If he were here, I would defer to him, but he's not, so that's just information. In the meantime, you can ask him questions next month. We are also keeping an eye on public data for hospitalizations and death rates and all of that. It goes up and down. Right now, I think it's a little down. I think Monica probably has the most up-to-date information. Monica, do you want to give a couple of seconds about that?
Sure. Right now, King County, I just primarily focus on King County, but King County has come through a big peak, and now it's starting on the slope down. So it's over 1,000 cases a day still in King County, but the hospital rate and the death rate has still stayed fairly low, so that's good.
So encouraging. We'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep you informed. We have also been reviewing some rent proposals, and these are ongoing. No decisions today, but Emerald Heights Academy, which is a Catholic school, has approached us about potentially renting some space within our facility and some modules out in the parking lot. It's quite a bit, and I would prefer not to get into a lot of details today because not all of our board has had opportunity to talk to the Emerald Heights Academy people. I want to get through that first. But before we actually agree to this, we will take it to the congregation and give you details and get your input, okay? The other rental opportunity we have is with the Jewish Day School, and they aren't looking to actually initiate anything for a couple of years, but it's a potential. The Emerald Heights Academy could have impact to our family and youth program, and it could have impact to a couple of other things. So we're being very careful and stepwise about gathering information and learning exactly what they are proposing and then what we would want to counter-propose. We also ratified our Diversity Action Committee. So I want to talk a little bit about what ratification means. So in our bylaws, the president appoints a committee, and that can be through any different means. It could be a member of the community saying, hey, I think we need a committee on X. Or it could be a community that we've had before but needs to be renewed. That's an appointment, but that doesn't mean the committee would happen. The next monthly board meeting, the president would take it to the board and say, is this a good idea, is this not a good idea? And the board would ratify it, meaning thumbs up, thumbs down, okay? And that at that point, we still don't have a leader, we still don't have the scope, we just have an idea, right? So after the board has ratified it and said thumbs up, then we look for a team leader, and then we look at the scope of what we want this committee to do. So in the past, we haven't had a huge, great structure for doing that. I'm working on trying to develop something that's a little bit more structured for how committees operate and where their scope is, kind of like project charter, that kind of thing. More to come as we move along on that. We are looking, though, for committee members. So if anybody has any interest there, please let us know. In the last month, Paul Roof and Joy Christensen attended a Northwest Regional Call and learned about grants that are available. Joy, do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yes, the Unity Northwest region meets on a monthly basis, and it's a really wonderful group of people. And one of the co-chair, Rachel, lives in Anchorage, Alaska. And she has, they've told us about one of the grants called HUG, Help Unity Grow, where there are some monies that's been put aside to help those Unity communities that may need some help with monies for relocation. Should they find a minister that needs relocation. So we're going to be looking through that. There's also another grant in helping with monies for technology. Since we now have hybrid and we want to continue that most of Unity, and also being able to make it easier for people to access Unity, then there's also a grant to help with that. And also, this year, we're not having a Unity Northwest Region conference. The last one that they did was in 2020, and that was virtual, but they're hoping that maybe next year there might be. So if you have any ideas, things like that, please write to the board, and then we'll bring it up to them. But both Paul and I are very interested and are committed in attending their monthly meetings so that we can connect with our Unity in the Northwest region, which, by the way, is Alaska, California, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and I think there might be one more state, but it's great, all the way to Alaska. Montana, thank you. And by the way, if you might want to look up also, I'm going to give out a shout out to Rachel at Unity of Anchorage. If you want to go on their webpage, they are going to have a Unity in Alaska tour for anyone who's interested in September. And she also has a blog. And so we're hoping, and a Twitter account. So we're trying to also try to reach younger people using the socially conscious and being responsible with media platforms. So we're all kind of try to work together to try and help each other out.
Awesome.
Use social platforms.
So I started out at Unity of Anchorage in Alaska. So I actually might know Rachel. Not sure, it's been a long time. So in addition to that, one comment, though, grants are not necessarily given. You have to apply for them. There's usually a list of requirements and all that kind of stuff. But really good news, there's potential money for moving a senior minister. There's potential money for AV upgrades. So we'll be looking into that. The next thing that we did this month is we finished planning for, not finished planning, but we finalized a date for the Day 1 retreat. This is going to focus on the board operation. Day 2 is scheduled, and it will focus, is in process of being scheduled, and will focus on organizational strategy. Keep in mind, neither of these are board meetings. So we'll provide generalized output, but not necessarily an invitation to the meeting, okay? The board code of ethics was finalized. We obtained signatures. There's probably a need to revise the code of ethics. It's not necessarily fully aligned with Unity Worldwide Ministries, so we'll be looking at that later in the year. But because it is what we have, we all signed it, so that we have in process now a commitment to the code of ethics that this facility has been working off of. Also, just kind of some operational stuff that primarily I've been working on. We've started initial discussions for opening the youth and family wing. I would like to hear from the community a little bit today, your thoughts on that. I'll talk about that in a second. I'm working with Dorothy on doing a financial review in June. You've heard Dorothy say a couple of times in these meetings that we may have a financial ask of you. I suspect that would probably be in July or August if we do that. Dorothy and I are looking at the numbers right now, and it's really been interesting because we expected this financial ask to have to happen in like April, but we've been staying above where we thought we would be. So keep up those prayers, those affirmations for an abundant, thriving community. Next thing is I've been talking to Daniel a lot about the AV needs. He's given a proposal. Other board members here haven't seen it yet. I'll be proposing that in this month's meeting. Went through all the paperwork that was left by Reverend Marla and found the key to the board file cabinet, which apparently we haven't opened in a few years. So I'm really excited to see what's in there. I haven't yet today. I know, time capsule for the board. I've also started consolidating a board history document that shows the board terms and who was in them and who sat in for who, et cetera. Worked with Susan and Ken McClellan, prior presidents, and I'm going to make that visible to the congregation sometime soon. I'm also investigating using SharePoint. So we have an existing software license to 365, and with that comes SharePoint. And our current website is not on SharePoint, but I do a lot of SharePoint website development in my day job. And so I talked to Monica. We ran a test, and I will be able to do a website, a board website. So Joy and Shelley didn't even know that yet. They're getting this information for the first time. But at any rate, I just found that out a couple of days ago. I'm really excited about that because then we can link to that from the main Unity website, and it would be something that either I could maintain or I can teach another board member to maintain because it's super easy. Takes the load off of Monica, just lots of benefits to that. And that's it. That's what we've done in the last 30 days. So what do we need from you guys? So engagement, you guys. We need you on committees. So we need you on committees for marketing, fundraising, facilities, diversity action. In small groups, we need you. And in educational classes, we need you. So if you're not hooked up in one of those three ways, please consider it. I do want to say one other thing. Susan and I have had some kind of sidebar conversations. She's taking a little bit of a step back from activities just because, being a president for as long as she was, for 6 years, there's a lot of effort that goes into that. So, it's kind of a little mini vacation here. She's not going anywhere. She's still staying within the community. But she's done a lot of strategic development for small groups, and she did it in concert with Reverend Marla. And her and I have had some conversations about how do we make this more open, a little bit less, super structured. And she's willing to do the work to facilitate the small groups, but really doesn't want to be a strategic leader for the small groups anymore. So if anybody has an interest in that, please let me know. I would be happy to partner with you and in lockstep help you. So that's one ask. The other one is increase your love offerings if possible. You know the saying about, put the hands together and make the affirmations, but move the feet. So this is the move the feet part. If you can increase your love offerings, please do so. The last one is a few consciousness asks. So it seems like a long time between these meetings, I'm sure, for congregational members, but we only meet once. The board only meets once between Q&A sessions. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you've asked us to do something, it might be a couple of months before you get a full answer. Please lean away from the old board and new board terminology. That creates a dualism that we don't want to have. In our philosophy and our teachings, it's all about oneness and board continuation. So we have a continuation of the journey of the board. Include in your daily affirmations, Unity at Bellevue is abundant, prosperous, and thriving. So thank you very much. And I'd like to know how you feel about opening the youth and family wing, and specifically with regard to COVID. And the reason why I asked that, I'm getting my other piece of paper here, is that COVID tests, or kids can be vaccinated at 5 years or older, but not less than that. And so there would be a few kids that would not have vaccination and probably wouldn't wear a mask all the time because kids are kids, right? And testing is only at 2 years older. So I'd like your thoughts on that. If not today, then through the board at unityofbellevue.org. Just some numbers in case you're curious. Ages 5 to 11. We checked this, Monica, about 2 weeks ago? Something like that, yeah. So ages 5 to 11, 53% are vaccinated, and this is in King County. Ages 12 to 17, 80% are vaccinated. Youth hospitalizations, 0 to 4, there were 9. 5 to 11, there were 2. 12 to 15, and these are ages, were 1. 16 to 17, 0. So, there's a little risk there. The other thing to think about is the people that would be using our youth and family wing are probably people you've been exposed to in the sanctuary, but even so, I'd like thoughts on that. And with that said, we'll open it up for Q&A. If you are in the sanctuary, please come up to the microphone. If you're online, print your question in chat. Come on, Linda. Just the microphone, however you need to there. That might be a little high for you. I'm not sure.
Do you want me to get it down for you?
Can you hear me?
There you go.
You can hear me. Okay. I should have written notes. I have a couple questions. With the COVID policy, I don't think you said anything about being able to meet in the friendship room with food.
Yeah, we haven't changed our policy yet. Our policy at this time is no food in the friendship room. I know there's been a few Sundays where people have bought stuff in, but our policy is at this time is not.
Right.
And for rentals, it's a little different, and on areas other than Sunday service, it's a little different. So for Sunday service, our policy is no food in the friendship room at this time.
Yeah, I'm just thinking as we're moving along, it seems like we're a little slower than the general public in making choices. And I actually went up to Bellingham Unity yesterday because if people know Susie Hunter, she passed away. So I went to her service. But, you know, they have food. Most places do have that. And for me, I wish we could follow, even with the youth wing, the kids are used to being in school. They know what to do in school. And, you know, the policies that they have for that, I don't understand why we are different from what the norm is so that we can get back to doing things a little bit more normally.
So right now, the reason why is that when we did the survey, there were two questions on there that were really critical. The first one was, how do you want the board to make decisions? And it was basically a choice between, do you just want to leave it up to us? Do you want to do state and local? Do you want to do what other churches are doing? And roughly 80% of the people that responded said, either go with state and local or just board, you tell us what's comfortable. So I think that for us was, wow, okay, so we can go ahead and make decisions and the congregation will be comfortable. But then there was another question on there that said, how do you feel about removing a mask requirement? And we had roughly, I don't have the numbers with me today, I'm really sorry, but I can send them out again if you'd like, but roughly 43%, I think, might be a little bit off on this, but it was roughly 40 and 40, 43 and 47%, something along those lines. One side said, remove all restrictions. We don't want masking. We don't, you know, unvaccinated is okay. And the other side said, keep masking. And of those, there were roughly 9 people out of 73 respondents or 76 respondents. I can't remember. Something like that. 75 responses all total. Basically begged us to stay conservative. And so we've got about 10 people in our congregation that really want us to be conservative. And so, I mean, it's a matter of, I kind of have come to the conclusion about the COVID policy that no matter what we do, we're not going to make everybody happy. I mean, yeah. I know that. So
I think the thing that you're looking at, and I did the survey too, and it was hard to choose with some things, because if you would have said, do we want to have the normal COVID response for restaurants where you take your mask off and you eat? As I personally feel like sometimes it might be at this point nice for people to at least go in the friendship room and talk, because people kind of come and go and we could connect a little bit better that way. And there's really not that many of us. So I just, just those sorts of things, it's hard to answer.
If I may interject, I think that we've seen some people do talk even without food at the friendship room after the service. So I don't think that we're preventing people from still being able to talk with each other. May not have, it's not as good without the food. Also, I know Monica has told us what's been happening in King County, but I just saw a headline, which I didn't have a chance to really read, but there's been 2 new variants. It's just, again, has just come up on the radar of the CDC as well as doctors.
Yeah, I think that people are knowing how to respond better now. So I'm just keeping an eye on, and for me, I think I'm using the protocols that are established. I mean, the schools are doing it. I mean, to me, there's King County, but there's also what are the kids used to, how do they react? And they're really pretty good about wearing masks when they need to, staying home. It's all kind of established with that sort of thing.
One of the things we've talked a little bit about, and not at length, is about having a policy of masks are encouraged but not required, because a lot of companies have taken that kind of next step. And I think that once we can validate the airflow, that's probably the next step. But I can't say that as a firm definitive, because we really haven't discussed it as a board. But that seems to be the next logical step.
Yeah, I know someone who does the airflow evaluations too, so we can check. The other thing I was wondering about, you're asking for people to, to join in the committees and the diversity action committee. So if there's a description of each of the committees so you know what you're asking people to be a part of, that would be very helpful. So, and I don't know if you have that already.
No,
that would be great.
It's in the works, not yet, but yes. Okay. Even some of the committees that we have that are existing, we don't have that for. So we need to go back and document stuff.
Yeah, and the fact that you're having team leads for that, for the different committees, just, because I heard that you weren't doing that, so for team leads for committees, but I would like to understand how that works with volunteer coordinating would be great. I think that's it for now. Thank you.
Thanks, Linda. Anybody else? Hi, Cindy.
I'll put it back up here. Hello, everyone. I just want to thank you, as always, for all that you do for the church, for all of us. It's so appreciated. I know you spend a lot of your time and energy, so thank you. And I just thought I would give a little feedback for the youth wing. I'm really excited for things to open back up. I feel like there's a piece of our family missing without our kiddos here. And I know my children are really looking forward to coming back. And this is just my feedback. That's what is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I just thought I would say, since I have worked with the youth for many years, I believe that they're our legacy and our future, and I just think it's really important. And I know there's so many things that go on with COVID right now, so, but I tend to agree with what Linda was saying. I think people are really learning to be responsible, and there is quite a separation with our kids here, and they can be very safe back in the youth wing, and those who are worried about it, I think, we can keep things so that it's separate still. Maybe that means we don't bring them into the sanctuary or things like that. But yeah, I just wanted to say that because I feel it's important to get them back. And I'm excited to be back there with the kiddos. I miss it. So thank you.
So Cindy, would you be a volunteer if we open up youth and family again?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And if there's some kind of I know you're talking about the groups and starting things, I'd be willing to help if there's, things that need to be done.
Perfect. I'll let Sabrina know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sabrina right now is looking at opening up partially. So, 1 to 2 Sundays a month, mainly because of lack of volunteers. So if anybody has interest in that, let us know and maybe we can go more. No. Anything else? Anyone else have any other questions? How about anybody online, Monica? Anybody have any questions online?
Nope, nothing online.
I know there's, with the men's retreat, and when your significant other's at a retreat, are you going to come to church? Who knows? But I think that we have probably less people than normal today. But yeah. Any other questions? Hi, Linda. No,
I have a comment, but you go first, Linda.
Put it way down.
So this is a comment. I just wanted to say that our Women Connect group that met for our brunch last week was really, really nice. We had 22 people come, and it went really smoothly, and everybody was really happy to get together. So we're going to continue that as we've done in the past, the 4th Saturday of the month, and set up our programs. So I want to thank everybody for all that they've done.
Thanks, Linda.
I just have a comment. We've been talking about employee matching grants from employers. I just want to say over the last month, we've had over $4,000 come in from matching grants from employers.
Wow.
So
did
thank
you
you,
guys
everybody.
online hear that?
That's great news.
$4,000 in matching employer contributions. That's awesome.
Perfect.
That's really, really awesome. Be sure and Sharon knows that. Sharon, that was Sharon came up with a lot of that. Any other questions?
Or comments?
I do have, for those of you online, I apologize, you probably won't see all of this, but I'm just really curious, just by a show of hands, if, two questions. First question, is youth and family opening? If yes, raise your hand. Okay, anonymous, or unanimous, everybody wants it. Okay. The second question I had is changing the COVID policy so that it is masks encouraged but not required, and opening it up to food service. With hand up, are you for that or not?
Those are two different things.
Okay.
You got to separate those.
Okay, we'll do that. So the first thing is masks encouraged but not required. Hands up if you're for that. Anywhere on Sunday. Encouraged but not required. So we're at about survey rate. 1, 2, 3, 4 out of about 8. Okay. And then the second question, open up to food service in the friendship room. Okay. So if we were to open, and that was almost everybody for those of you online. If we did open up to food service, would you then still have people wear masks? Yes. Okay. I'm seeing, wear masks except for when you're eating. Okay. Interesting.
So to that point, I work in hospitality, and we have gone around and around in our company about what the rules are. And of course, when the King County mandate came out that that a mask wasn't required any longer, there were a lot of jokes about, well, when you have to wear a mask, what's the point of sitting down at a table and being able to take your mask off? The COVID germ doesn't necessarily exist anymore. So it's been a controversy. I agree that folks are acting more responsibly, that we're all better educated about how we behave, because we first want to protect ourselves and protect our families and protect those around us that we care about. I think that if we were to open food service here, I know that there are a couple of Unity churches that have a monthly potluck that will bring in the fellowship and the social aspect. If we choose, I guess what I'm saying is that there should be a hybrid of wearing masks, if you will, when you're up and you're moving around and you're going and getting your food. Then of course the masks are on, and that is just my opinion. And especially in an environment where people are still very sensitive and concerned about the whole COVID virus. So I think that there is a lot more to it in the decision and in the discussion about how that's managed, and the structure in which is managed in a sensitive environment with a sensitive demographic. And so that's just my input. I think that there is more to making a decision about being able to take off a mask, or whether or not we say, okay, food service is a very sensitive issue. And that's just my opinion. I think that we need to be very careful about how we make that decision. And but I'm for it. I will tell you, I'm for it. I'm for the fellowship, and I'm for everybody coming back with those rules that govern appropriate behavior, so everybody can enjoy that full hospitality and what it's intended to be. Thank you.
Other comments? Linda, can you come up to the mic? Sorry, it's just for the online people. They don't hear you at all when you shout from the bellows.
I mean, there's secure things we can do. We don't have to have a potluck. We can have individually wrapped things, and we could just be sure, like we had 5 people at a table, not 6. I mean, really space it. and you just have more restrictions in how we set it up. So I think, those things would help too.
Yes, and putting, excuse me, do you mind?
No.
Okay, thank you. And in putting all of those pieces and details, Linda, you're absolutely right, putting those things on paper so that we all know what the standards are. One part of hospitality is making sure that everybody knows what's expected, and so nobody makes a mistake. And, we start to make mistakes, and we start to not define it correctly, and people stop showing up. So I think we've seen that here in how the rules have been established, and I mean rules to the betterment of the whole community. But we see that because everybody knows when you come into the sanctuary, even into the church, what is expected. I came in one Sunday and I didn't have my mask on. I completely forgot. I left it in the car. And Monica kindly and lovingly said, "Where's your mask?" and honestly, I thank people for that, to remind us all in loving spirit to make sure that we're complying with the entire community. We work for the whole, not the one. So anyway, thanks, Monica. But it was done very well. So I think that if we're all open to those rules, we'll put them on paper, and it'll hopefully work out for everyone. Thank you.
This is quick. I might have missed something, but if we're looking at having people come and rent the facility as a school, are we bowing out of having a Unity preschool now?
That's part of the discussion. So I can't answer that one way or the other right now because it's a matter of they would be, well, in one case, probably yes. In another case, I don't know. And it depends on the two different proposals. In all fairness, Linda, I would say I just can't answer that right now. But the chances are real good that if we did do the rental contract, we would not do the preschool. The rental contract is quite a bit of money. Something like $6,000 a month, something like that. I mean, it would solve any money problems we have. On the other hand, it would create some limitations for us. And we are looking at how short of, if we were to do something like this, I'm not real comfortable doing, personally, my personal opinions, I'm not comfortable doing a long-term contract. And that is, of course, what a school would want. So I think there's just a lot of discussion that's still to be had about the whole thing. Go ahead, Monica.
I do have somebody online who says that, even though it's from Lori. Hi, Lori. She's not going to be with us frequently, but so, minor consideration. But she said, what about masks required in sanctuary and options elsewhere? So zones.
So zones, that's interesting. We haven't had any conversation about that. That's a great idea. Yeah, and the airflow may have different zones to it too. Yeah. So that might go hand in hand with that. Thank you, Lori. Which Lori is that?
Lori Flatray. She lives over in Poulsbo.
Yeah. Okay. We have a couple of different Loris. But all right. Anybody else? Comments or questions? All right. Since we're being very silent, looks like we're done for June Q&A. Unless everybody's got a burning desire. Anybody want to dash to the microphone? No. Okay. So thank you all for coming. Really appreciate your participation. Get those questions in order for next month, and we'll be here to answer them.
Thank you.
Thank you.